Affiliate links in description. Plaza of Heroes, up $6.79. Plaza is spiking because Legendary Tribal is gaining serious momentum in Commander, and this land does everything those decks want. The protection ability is clutch for keeping your key legends alive, making it an auto-include that's finally getting recognized. Isatil Explorer, up $3.88. The Azusa effect stapled to graveyard value is exactly what ramp decks needed, and people are finally catching on. Having your lands do double duty as both acceleration and card advantage is just too good to ignore. Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier, Sephiroth, One-Winged Angel, up $3.63. Final Fantasy nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and people are realizing this double-face powerhouse actually plays pretty well in Angel and Transformation decks. The iconic villain factor plus decent gameplay utility is driving steady demand from both collectors and players. Gwen Stacy, Ghost Spider, up $3.37. Gwen's seeing pickup from Marvel fans and collectors who want the transform mechanic, plus she's actually playable in casual Spider Tribal builds that are getting more support. The Soul Stone, up $3.26. The Infinity Stone theme is getting people hyped for more Marvel crossovers, and recurring creatures every turn is just busted in casual commander pods. Buster Sword, up $2.96. Equipment that draws cards and gives free spells is finally getting the respect it deserves in competitive commander pods. The Final Fantasy crossover hype is keeping all these cards hot while supply stays tight. Chronicle of Victory, up $2.66. Tribal decks are getting spicy again, and this thing turns any creature type into an absolute powerhouse. 6 mana is steep, but the payoff of Anthem effects plus card draw has people brewing hard. Super Shredder, up $2.44. Super Shredder's getting some love as people realize how bonkers it gets in sacrifice-heavy decks and token strategies. That ability to grow off literally any permanent leaving makes it a sneaky powerhouse commander that's finally getting noticed. Biorganic Carapace, up $2.20. Modified creatures matter is suddenly everywhere in the format, and this equipment turns any creature into a massive card draw engine. The Marvel hype probably didn't hurt either with people cracking more Spider-Man packs. Mondo Gecko, up $2.09. Mondo Gecko spiked because players realized it's actually a sneaky good 5-color commander that can protect itself while drawing tons of cards. The TMNT novelty factor plus legitimate playability created the perfect storm for this turtle power surge. Origin of Spider-Man, up $2.03. Spider-Man crossover hype is real, and collectors are going absolutely nuts for anything Marvel-themed. Low supply plus nostalgia is driving this saga through the roof. Quantum Riddler, up $2. Sphinx Tribal is getting some love lately, and this card draw engine is perfect for slower control decks that empty their hands. The warp ability makes it flexible enough to see play across multiple formats. Bator, Kin to All, up $1.62. Toughness Matters decks are gaining traction, and this provides serious incremental value that scales into a game-ending effect. The recent focus on defensive strategies has players realizing this dragon rewards exactly what those decks want to do anyway. Dark Leo and Shredder, up $1.56. Ninja Tribal is getting some love lately, and this gives the deck a solid 2-drop commander with a brutal late-game payoff. That Death Touch buff for all your ninjas is no joke either. Mikey and Leo, Chaos and Order, up $1.53. Counter synergies are getting a lot of love lately, and this turtle duo turns every +1/+1 counter into a fresh card. The hybrid mana cost makes it super easy to slot into any counters deck that's running green or white. Michelangelo, Weirdness to 11, up $1.49. Doubling season effects are always popular in Commander, and players are realizing this budget version fits perfectly in +1/+1 counter strategies. The TMNT nostalgia factor doesn't hurt either. People love their pizza-loving turtle commanders. Casey Jones, Vigilante, up $1.45. Casey Jones is spiking because people realize drawing 3 cards for 3 mana in red is actually insane, even with the random discard downside. The TMNT nostalgia plus legitimate playability in aggro and discard matters decks created the perfect storm. Cloud, Midgar Mercenary, up $1.44. Equipment Matters decks are getting more love lately, and Cloud's ability to tutor up gear, then double up on triggers, is exactly what those strategies want. Plus, it's Cloud from Final Fantasy, so the casual appeal is through the roof. Juan Chaton, Librarian, up $1.44. Fetch lands and tutors are everywhere in Commander right now, so this bird basically reads, draw cards whenever opponents play the game. The avatar hype doesn't hurt either since people are still discovering these crossover cards. The Earth Crystal, up $1.24. Green ramp and plus level 1 counter strategies are super popular in Commander right now, and this does both incredibly well. The doubling effect is basically a green doubling season for creatures, which explains why everyone's buying in. Ugin, Eye of the Storms. Ugin, Eye of the Storms, up $1.24. Ugin's getting some love, as colorless ramp strategies are picking up steam in Commander. The new Eldrazi support has players looking at all the powerful colorless payoffs they might have missed. Lightning, Army of One, up $1.20. Lightning's seeing play in damage doubling combo decks, where that stagger ability creates some absolutely disgusting turns. The triple keyword package makes it a solid aggressive Commander option that's finally getting the recognition it deserves. Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, up $1.18. Artifact decks are getting more love lately, and this Tezzeret hits all the right notes with cheap tutoring and easy loyalty building. The ultimate creating robot armies is exactly the kind of splashy effect Commander players can't resist. Ravenous Robots, up $1.15. Artifact token strategies are getting spicy right now, and this little engine pumps out robots while giving them haste. Budget players are scooping these up as a solid alternative to the expensive artifact synergy pieces. Ishgard, the Holy Sea, Faith and Grief, up $1.08. Final Fantasy crossover hype is real, and players are snapping up anything that looks remotely playable from the set. Adventurelands are already popular in EDH, so this one's riding both the collectible wave and actual gameplay demand. Leonardo, Sewer Samurai, up $1.04. Leonardo's seeing some love as players discover how busted recurring small utility creatures can be in graveyard-focused decks. The double strike doesn't hurt either when you're building around cheap aggressive creatures. Ba Sing Si, up $1.02. Land animation strategies are getting spicy in Commander right now, and Ba Sing Si lets you turn any land into a legitimate threat. The Earthbend ability is way more versatile than people initially realized. Plus, avatar cards have that collectible factor going for them. Breeding Pool, up $1.01. Breeding Pool's seeing renewed demand as Simic strategies heat up in the current meta. Shock lands never stay cheap for long when blue-green decks are performing well. The Ether Spark, up 99 cents. Equipment Planeswalker hybrid cards are getting a lot of brewing attention since people realized how well they protect themselves. The unique design is driving casual demand as players experiment with this weird new card type. Tifa Lockhart, up 98 cents. Landfall aggro is getting some new tools in recent sets, and people are realizing how explosive Tifa can get with fetchlands. She's basically a one-shot machine in the right shell. Bebop and Rocksteady, up 98 cents. TMNT nostalgia is hitting hard, and collectors are snatching up anything from this crossover set. Plus, sacrifice-based strategies are always brewing in Commander, giving this some actual playable utility beyond the novelty factor. Hexing Squelcher, up 92 cents. Ward protection is getting more respect in competitive circles, and a 2-mana piece that makes your entire board and spell stack nearly untouchable is finally getting noticed. Budget control players are snapping these up as a cheap way to protect their game plan. Firelord Azula, up 92 cents. Avatar cards are getting picked up by collectors and casual players who love the IP crossover. The spell copying ability during combat is also catching attention from Spellslinger Commander players looking for unique value engines. Dracogenesis, up 90 cents. Dragon Tribal is popping off again, and free casting big scary dragons is exactly what Commander players want to be doing. The fact that it cheats mana costs on some of the most expensive creatures in the game makes it an auto-include for any serious dragon deck. Traveling Chocobo, up 89 cents. Bird tribal decks are getting some new toys in upcoming sets, and this card's unique ability to play birds from the top plus double up on landfall triggers is exactly what those strategies want. The Legend of Roku, Avatar Roku, up 88 cents. Avatar hype is real, and people are finally realizing how powerful this flip card can be in the command zone. The Airbender crossover brought in tons of new players who want their favorite characters. Multiversal Passage, up 86 cents. People are finally realizing this is basically a shock land that works with any basic land type, making it incredibly flexible for multicolor decks. The Marvel hype doesn't hurt either, but this card's just genuinely undervalued for what it does. Warden of the Grove, up 85 cents. Warden of the Grove is getting picked up by players who realize how busted it is with token strategies and creature-heavy builds. That endurability essentially doubles your board presence every time you play a creature, which is pretty nuts for 3 mana. The Unagi of Kyoshi Island, up 84 cents. Card draw engines like this are always popular in Commander, and Avatar crossover hype is still driving demand across the whole set. Plus that waterbend mechanic is pretty unique protection that casual players are starting to appreciate more. The Fire Crystal, up 82 cents. Red aggro decks are getting spicy new tools in the upcoming set, and this cost reducer is looking pretty essential. Plus that token copying ability is way more versatile than people initially gave it credit for. Blood Crypt, up 81 cents. Blood Crypt's uptick is likely just steady demand doing its thing. This dual land sees play across multiple formats, and there's always someone building Rakdos. Solid mana bases never go out of style, especially when they're this versatile. Renoa Heartily, up 81 cents. Final Fantasy nostalgia is real, and collectors are snatching up anything from these crossover sets. The token generation plus pump effect is also catching some casual Commander players' attention. Riverpire Verge, up 81 cents. Dual lands always climb when they're new and shiny, plus this fixes mana perfectly for popular Izzet commanders. The promo version has that extra bling factor collectors love. Raffin Mikey Troublemakers, up 79 cents. Ninja Turtle nostalgia is real, and this splashy attack trigger is finally getting noticed by casual Commander players. The free creature cheating effect plays perfectly in big creature decks that want explosive turns. Gwenom, Remorseless, up 78 cents. Gwenom's seeing play as a sneaky value engine in black mid-range decks, since that ability basically gives you card advantage while your life total stays healthy with lifelink. The Marvel hype, plus people realizing this is actually a solid standalone threat, is driving the bump. Mistree's Village, up 78 cents. Mistree's Village is getting love because that uncounterable ability is clutch in blue-heavy meadows. Players are realizing a land that protects your key spells while fixing mana is actually pretty solid utility. Behold the Sinister Six, up 77 cents. People are waking up to how busted this Reanimator spell is in Commander. Getting 6 different creatures back for 6 mana is absolutely nuts value. The Marvel hype is definitely helping push demand too. Mutagen Man, Living Ooze, up 77 cents. Artifact token strategies are picking up steam, and this ooze makes all those food, treasure, and clue activations way cheaper. Plus, who doesn't love a good +1/+1 counter engine that scales with how much mana you dump into it? Windcrag Siege, up 75 cents. Doubling triggers is incredibly powerful in Commander, and this hits a sweet spot for attack-based strategies. The Jeskai mode, creating hasty lifelink tokens every turn, is also surprisingly relevant for go-wide decks. Abandoned Air Temple, up 73 cents. White go-wide strategies are getting more popular in Commander, and this gives those decks a repeatable Anthem effect stapled to a land. Plus, anything from the Avatar set has been climbing as people discover how playable these cards actually are. Dawn and Wrath, Hard Science, up 72 cents. Artifact decks are getting spicy new toys in upcoming sets, and this Affinity Enabler is looking like perfect glue for those strategies. Plus, anything that makes expensive artifacts cheaper always gets Commander players excited. Splinter's Technique, up 72 cents. People are finally realizing this is basically a demonic tutor with upside if you can trigger the sneak cost. The universe's beyond hype is driving demand for playable cards from these crossover sets. Bloomtender, up 71 cents. Bloomtender's climbing because 5-color decks are everywhere right now, and this thing basically taps for a rainbow. Nothing beats cheap, reliable mana fixing in Commander. Donatello, Mutant Mechanic, up 67 cents. Artifact decks are really picking up steam lately, and Donatello's ability to turn any artifact into a beefed up creature is exactly what those strategies needed. Plus, people are realizing how busted that counter redistribution ability gets when your artifacts start dying. Check TCG Player for current prices, link in description.